What's going on, everybody, here from the X-Bomb Nation, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you all are having a fantastic, magical Monday. Yes, that's right. We're live officially on a Monday morning again. We are back. I am, of course, your host, Mr. Andrew Benson. We are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in the O'Hare campus. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful day. It has been a long time since we've actually been here on a Monday to be able to do a great and wonderful show. I've missed this, and I thank my wonderful producer in the back, my technical director, Mr. Frankie Marinara Oliveri, or I like to also think him as Frankie the Olive Oliveri, ladies and gentlemen. There's another nickname for you, ladies and gents. Yeah, there you go. So appreciate it, Frankie. Thank you so much, man, for this. But folks, we're back for another Monday show. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, obviously. We thank you all so much. Obviously, if you want to follow any more of the show, we're live streaming right now, YouTube and Twitch. You guys can find us there, as always, of course. We are going live there on youtube.com/xbombsports and twitch.tv/xbombsports as well. If you guys want to follow any more of our social media, too, you can find us at xbombsports on Instagram and on Twitter and, of course, on Facebook, too. And we're also on TikTok, where this man in the back as well, too, is helping cut the clips that you guys are liking so much, and we appreciate you guys so much for that, too. And, of course, if you have any questions or comments or things like that, you guys can hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We love the questions, the comments, the things that you guys throw at us. Obviously, this has been a wacky week for sports. There's a lot of news going on. You guys have been throwing the questions at us like crazy. So we're going to answer a few of those questions on Friday's show. This one, we're going to kind of break down some of the news. Some questions, obviously, you guys have asked us here, too. But I took those and I'm kind of just doing the regular formulaic show. So without further ado, my man Frankie, you ready to rock and roll with this? Let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. So the first thing we are hitting here is Laker country, ladies. La La Land. Yes. There has been a lot of talk coming out the Los Angeles Lakers, and it has been profusely around the new sale of the team. Mark Walter is now officially going to be named the new owner at some point in August, as a $10 billion sale has come through. But it is more important actually to be known that phone calls were made by a certain somebody to a wonderful star player by the name of Luka Doncic. That's right, yes. The star player being Luka Doncic did receive a phone call from the Lakers saying, hey, just to let you know, a sale's going through. This is what's happening. And apparently no phone call was made to one named LeBron James, which has obviously sparked a lot of discussion about why exactly that was. There's a tiny bit of controversy, but it seems a lot more people maybe leaning to one side more than the other. But basically, sounds like the Lakers are starting to prepare for a world where LeBron may no longer exist in this country land, right? So the Lakers don't call LeBron James. They don't give him an opportunity to kind of, have his say, I guess, with the Lakers. But hey, he's kind of always had his say with the Lakers, right? I mean, it's pretty fair to make that as definitive a statement as you can. Decisions have been made based upon his say-so, right? It's been, hey, get me Russell Westbrook, get me Anthony Davis. I want this guy, I want that guy, I want this coach, I want that coach. It's always been based around what he wants. It's been that way in Miami. It was that way in Cleveland the first time and then the second time. He has always been able to dictate how moves are made through a franchise. Now, he doesn't do it directly, I believe. I believe he's one who's kind of like Aaron Rodgers, who goes, gee, which sure would be great to get Russell Westbrook. Man, if I could play with Anthony Davis. You know who would be a really good coach, I think, for a team out there? J.J. Redick. That guy would be a good coach. It would sure be cool to be able to play for a coach like him. He does that kind of stuff, Mr. Passive-Aggressive, so that this way he can play the deniability card and go, hey, I didn't ask for those guys. I didn't demand them to be here. It's his way of being able to kind of play up that role, right? It's his way of being able to kind of tell, like, oh, well, I didn't say anything, so don't put the blame on me. That's on the Lakers. So I look at this situation then even further, right? And you see LeBron doesn't pick up – he picks up his option is what I mean. He picks up his player option. It's $52.5 million. This coming, by the way, after he had put out a statement that said he wanted to win championships, which came after he had said on a podcast that he did with Steve Nash that he didn't care about ring culture, right? $52.5 million, that's going to win you a championship, really? You, the billionaire athlete, the guy that has made more money in the NBA than anybody else off of contracts, you need that extra cash? Wouldn't a guy like him who wants to win championships decline the option, take less money so the Lakers can spend the money on better players? Doesn't that make more sense? So what I then came to find out when reading the article that was put out there by Ramona Shelburne and Brian Windhorst that came about how the Lakers apparently are kind of in limbo, basically went on to say that apparently the Lakers had not even come close to offering a new contract to LeBron James. There was very little discussion being made, but more so than anything, it was more about the fact that the Lakers were trying to, I guess, push him to decline the option to take the less money so that they could spend more on better players. Ultimately, he picks up the option. It kind of shoots them in the foot, or basically, yeah, it shoots them in the foot, if you will, I guess, for lack of a better term, and now puts them in a tough position because you have Luka who going to be worth, what, almost $225 million on a 4-year extension that could happen for a Supermax deal. Now you have DeAndre Ayton, who you had to get on kind of a pedestrian deal, I guess, for the NBA. LaRavia, I think is his name, or something like that. You picked up a bunch of kind of dudes to flush out the roster, give yourself depth. But what you could have done with that money to get more experience, maybe better players, ultimately has now cost you from where I'm standing at. And overall, looking at the situation, you say LeBron doesn't get the phone call. He doesn't get a contract extension, but he picks up his option. It ultimately seems to come to a what's the right term I want to use here? I guess a pinnacle to say that we're on the edge of seeing a divorce happen or a breakup, however you want to deem it, right? Like, look, the guy's 40 years old, going to be 41. Yeah, he still plays well. He's arguably one of the most intelligent players in the game. You could certainly still rank him, I think, as one of the top 10 or maybe 20 players in the league, sure. No one's taking anything away from his career and his success and his accolades and everything that he's accomplished in life. But I think when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it with a guy like LeBron James, you have to say to yourself, yeah, but how much longer do you want to try and carry all of that extra baggage he brings? I mean, for God's sakes, the Lakers decided on a whim, apparently, that they were going to go get the right player for them, and that was Bronny James. No connection there, right? Not only that, but what does J.J. Redick say? He earned this. He earned this? Then they give him, what was it again? Oh, yeah. They give him $4.4 million fully guaranteed as a second-round draft pick. The most money as a 55th overall pick has ever gotten in the history of the NBA. No other player has ever gotten that much money. And then he starts night one for the little photo op. Oh, isn't that cute? Dad and son playing together. Ah, that's so precious. Right? Spends minimal time in the G League, and then they bring him up to the main roster and try to promote this as like no, he gives us depth. He's a liability. I don't know if anybody saw the G League game that he played against the Mavericks, but he didn't look good at all. You could play it up like, oh, no, but the minutes and the points he went 1 for 6 from 3. He struggled defensively against summer league guys. This is a handful of guys that got drafted in the first round, combined with guys who are trying to make the team. Some of them, years removed from probably playing high school and college basketball at this point. Older guys that are trying to prove themselves. Younger guys that are kind of coming from saying, like, hey, we played street ball for a couple. Like, it's a combination of that stuff. And you're trying to tell me that Bronny, after all the experience he gained last year, can't be better? Why carry him then? Why not stuff him in the G League? Well, we got to satisfy. Oh, I get it. You're trying to keep Dad happy. But I think this is it. I think this is Mark Walter basically saying, hey, I'm in charge now. We're going to run this thing like I run the Dodgers, like I run Chelsea, like I run all these other sports teams. Because remember, he is the guy who owns multiple businesses in the world of sports. He knows sports. He knows sports business. He understands what's right, what's good for these teams, right? Dodgers just won a World Series, and they're still winning, right? You have Chelsea, who just won the Club World Cup. So his teams are doing something. They're doing something right. So wouldn't you imagine that he would be able to do something for the Lakers that the Buss family can't? Because I don't know where I'm standing from. It seemed like Jeannie Buss was only just trying to promote star power and glitz and glamour, trying to sustain that Showtime atmosphere where I don't know where everybody else stands on it, but it feels like Mark Walter is a guy who can actually get stuff done. And he's not afraid to say, hey, even if you're the best player on the team, if you're not what we need right now, we'll cut you. I think that's what's happening here with LeBron James. He says, look, congratulations on what you've done. You got him a championship. That was 5 years ago, and that was during COVID when you had like 3 months to recover. Asterisk or not, however you want to put it, it's still been a time. He's over the age of 40. He's now going to cost them a lot of money. It's possible at this point. There's, 3 options? Trade him now, trade him at the deadline, or let him walk at the end of the season. Either way, I don't see him staying with the Lakers. I think this is it, folks. I think this is where LeBron goes to free agency and realizes, yeah, I'll have a market, but it may not be the market that I want. Sacramento? Washington? Have fun? Utah? I guess Cleveland could offer him here's a contract, but you're retiring then at the end of the year, I'm assuming. But we know he doesn't want to do that. He wants to play with both of his sons. So, I don't know. Where I'm standing at right now, this feels like it's on the verge of just sliding down the hill even farther than we've seen before. But I think Mark Walter's doing the smart thing. He's putting his foot down and saying, look, you don't run this team. I own the team. I'm going to put who I need to in charge. I think LeBron's career is on the line here as far as being a Laker. I think Rob Pelinka and J.J. Redick may be on the hot seat as well, too. Bronny definitely is going to be on the hot seat if Dad's out. There's a lot of changes that are going to be coming because Mark Walter now runs this thing. He's not afraid to ditch people and go with new individuals. And if it works, which it seems to in his other businesses again, why would you not think it's going to work for the Lakers too? Let us know, though, ladies and gentlemen. Comment down below. We want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Do you think that the Lakers situation with LeBron James has kind of gotten out of hand? Do you think that this is the end of him being a Laker? Where do you think he goes after this if he's not going to be with L.A.? Comment. Let us know. We want to hear from you guys as always. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. But when we do come back here, ladies and gentlemen, a lot has been said in the NFL. There has been a lot of talk of collusion and all this stuff. We're going to get into that more here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Hey, watch your mouth. Why? I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. Cold draft taste, the second stuff.
Yeah, worth the recorder, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, you get those reports done?
Yeah.
No.
You, sir. Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
Who's all?
Dudes, we're only 75 cents short.
Oh.
Shh. The boss.
Hey, sir. Go yourself.
You're fired!
Throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, Judy Finelli established herself as a masterful juggler and performer, making appearances everywhere from Carnegie Hall to Sesame Street. With her loving heart, she has brought warm smiles to children everywhere she has performed. She even started the San Francisco School for the Circus Arts, but shortly after, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and by 2004, she was completely paralyzed. In celebration of her accomplishments and to fight the illness that had crippled Judy, a group of students from the San Francisco Clown College have compiled the perfect holiday present for those who want to laugh and to help those struggling with the illness. The goal has been set at $1 million raised, with 100% of any dollar made to be donated to the Junie Finelli Fund, which is helping find a cure to multiple sclerosis. Visit www.circuscenter.org to make a donation or to purchase a framed naked clown photo or the full Naked Clown 12-month calendar. Remember, 100% of every dollar is donated and goes to fighting MS.
And welcome back here, everybody, to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I am, of course, still Andrew Valentin, and we just got done talking about the NBA with the Lakers and LeBron and that whole situation. If you want to recap that stuff, you guys can go check that out. Obviously, we love to hear from you guys, as always, from the comments and everything. But, ladies and gentlemen, now, moving on to it, we're going to talk about the NFL because there has been a sweeping amount of talk about what's going on now with the NFL, the owners, the Players Association. Basically, at the core of it, it sounds as though that there has been some sort of cover-up, I guess, that's been happening within the NFL. The talk is now coming out that owners of the NFL apparently are being charged with, or I guess they're not being charged, but through the court of public opinion, if you will, they're being charged with tampering through contract negotiations that came from a previous moment in 2022, which I don't know if everybody completely remembers this, but in 2022, the Cleveland Browns decided to make what many will say is maybe one of the most, what's the right term, boneheaded, dumb trades in the history of not just the NFL, but maybe in the history of sports. Multiple firsts, multiple seconds for a quarterback by the name of Chocolate Starfish, a.k.a. Deshaun Watson. And then proceeded to pay him, what was the number? Oh, $230 million fully guaranteed over 5 years, which I distinctly remember us being here on the show when that announcement was made, and we were dumbfounded. We literally had no words. We were all here, slack-jawed, just going, what? Because how could you pay that much money and give up that many draft picks for a quarterback that had not played in over a year at that point, and also, by the way, had 26 cases against him on a civil suit for sexual assault? Kind of bearing the lead there, I know, but still, it's like, yeah, that's pretty important to note, I would say. And so the charge of collusion is coming from the people here that are watching and listening to all of this and saying, hey, look, when you paid Deshaun Watson that much money, that, as we said on the show and we've said numerous times, really did reset the market for the NFL, right? And it set the precedence that fully guaranteed contracts, particularly for quarterbacks, were now going to become the norm. And that hasn't seemed to be the case, right? It hasn't seemed to be the case. And that now becomes the issue, right? Is that people are saying that the owners and the Players Association have both basically worked together to make sure that the contracts have not risen to that level where fully guaranteed deals are being made for quarterbacks when negotiations were happening at that point in time, right? That is the charge that is being made here. And what's now being discussed is whether or not the information that has been apparently sealed should be released, and if the NFL Players Association president, Howell, should be fired or asked to step down, all of that kind of stuff. It has really stirred the pot as far as what a lot of people have always kind of deemed as a conspiracy theory, which is that the NFL is fixed. It's already predetermined, right? It's kind of in that same realm as, what you see with like wrestling and stuff, which I think is just absurd and just very kind of idiotic to almost say. But look, is it possible to entertain that theory? For me, honestly, is ridiculous. I don't think there's any real collusion here. If there is that charge, it is based upon the idea of business, and I don't think that is collusion because, look, if you're paying a player $200+ million, you don't want to pay him fully guaranteed money because then you're on the hook for that year in and year out. That's hitting your salary cap continually. To be able to structure the contract out so that you can pay him, bit by bit, year in and year out, week to week, it structures out your deal and your salary cap a lot easier, a lot stronger, so that you can actually, finance yourself better and have a stronger team to afford better players. That's part of the problem here, though, is that the charge that is coming from this is saying, well, the owners didn't want to do that, so they all work together to make sure that that's not the case. Could that still be something that comes through in this and becomes a charge that ends up getting thrown in their face? I guess it's very possible, but I don't know. I'm looking at the whole, like, you look at the situation with, like, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, right, Russell Wilson. These guys were looking for new contracts at that time. All of them didn't get deals anywhere near what they believed they should have, or fully guaranteed deals, and it is believed that's because the owners were like, no, we're not going to do that, because they all work together to make sure that doesn't happen. Just because Jimmy Haslam's an idiot and decides not only can you be like, hey, I authorize the trade of all these draft picks and all this money, like they're going to be like, no, we're not going to do that. I think that's what this is. It's those guys deciding, no, we're going to not do the dumb thing he did that clearly has set the Cleveland Browns apart from everybody to say that they're morons and they're a travesty of a franchise, and it's been proven time and time again. I mean, look, you paid him all that money, and what has Deshaun Watson done with it? Bupkis. Nothing. He's sitting on the bench now, and they're kind of going, God, can this contract just please die? Like, that's what they're hoping for at this point. Or they're hoping that somebody's so stupid that they could actually trade him. I mean, I don't know who'd be dumb enough to take him. Even the Tennessee Titans were smart enough to go, no, we're gonna draft a quarterback. We're not trying to sign or trade for Kirk Cousins or nothing. So look, as much as I want to sit here and say that collusion could be at the forefront of it, and certainly there's information out there that could direct towards it, I find it very hard to believe still at the same time. I feel like this is more on the side of just being on business. But, Pablo Torre was the one that kind of broke on this with his podcast, and he's the one that's kind of been reporting on it. He's the one that has said that, that published a document and has really kind of stirred things up. There's a lot of players that have obviously said they're a little surprised by all the details and everything. They're not really sure how to take it. But it is, I believe, the players, if I'm not mistaken, it's the executive committee that says that they're backing Lloyd Howell Jr., who is the executive director for the Players Association. And they've said, look, we're not going to do anything with him right now. He's going to stay in power. He's going to stay in place. That's how this is going to be formed. And again, I understand how this looks. And certainly I could be totally wrong on this, and I fully embrace that. Like, I could be totally wrong on this, and the NFL could have been doing a lot of collusion. As we know, there's been, in the past, a lot of shady background stuff that has happened with the NFL before, right? Dating all the way back to the 1920s even, at the very first, building of the league, right? It's been going on for years. And they're not the only ones. A lot of these pro teams have done stuff like that before. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is what's happening right now. I take it as a place of, you didn't want to pay the quarterbacks a lot of money. You didn't want to put yourself in salary cap hell like the Niners are in right now, or some other teams are going to find themselves in. Trust me, I support a team right now who's going to probably be in salary cap hell with the Bengals, who just paid 3 players more than half of their salary cap, and you better hope that that defense is good enough. You can't even get the first-round draft pick signed because the guy's caught up on language of a deal. Stupid Shamar Stewart costing the Bengals a defensive end. Go ahead, go back in the draft, see where you land. You were only good because you did well in the combine. You take a year off on football. Let's see where you land next. 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Good luck, buddy. Sorry. Personal airs aside. I don't know how much to take into this. Look, I haven't looked at the document at full yet. I've looked at a bit of it. There's certainly enough information there that could lead to the possibility of the NFL being in this kind of situation where, yes, there is information there and evidence enough to say that maybe the NFL colluded. Sure, that could be the case. But it's going to have to come down to independent rulings. It's going to have to come down to individuals on a committee and an investigation. There is going to have to. I mean, this sounds like something that would have to almost go to a grand jury here in the Supreme Court or something like that for them to actually have an actual ruling on this kind of thing, because that would be then and somewhere in that shape of monopolizing in a business, and that's where that kind of crosses a line. So, at its core, for what this story is, I understand that there's going to be a lot of people very upset about it. But how much am I going to dig my heels into this and say that, this happened? Right now, I'm kind of like at 6%. I think right now you kind of just have to take it for what it is. You can believe whatever you want to believe. I can't tell you what to believe. From where I'm standing at, though, I'm not seeing it as collusion, but I can understand where people would come from to believe such things. It doesn't bode well for the look of the NFL. But do I think it's going to really hurt the product at the end of the day, though, here too? No. They're still going to get millions, tens of millions to hundreds of millions of viewers every single week. People will still watch. People will still go to the games. People will still support their teams. Nothing's really going to change from this other than the slap on the wrist that may come from the NFL if this is true. Unless they really decide they're going to put dire consequences down on the league, but I don't see that happening. I can't see that happening, unfortunately. I'm not trying to get political, but, man, these guys are just so powerful. These are billionaires and power, and they control the commissioner in a lot of ways. They are his bosses. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, sorry, I'm trying to figure out the right thing to say here to not make everybody upset, but I know that's not going to be the case. Look, at the end of the day, you got to just take it for what it is, read the information, and go with it and say, okay, do I believe this? Do I not? Am I okay with it? Honestly, again, where I'm standing from, I don't see it. Could you? Sure, that's fine. But I'm looking at this right now and going, all right, you know what? You didn't want to pay him as much as Deshaun Watson? Smart move. Smart move as far as I'm concerned. My God, I mean, if Caleb Williams becomes as good as he may be, would you want the Bears to pay him that much money? Hey, if he's worth it, sure. But as long as he doesn't do anything in the level of Deshaun Watson, yeah, no, pay him whatever he wants. As if he's Patrick Mahomes 2.0, great. If he's Deshaun Watson 2.0, no, move on. I don't think that's going to happen, but, I'm just saying. But that's going to do it for the NFLPA stuff here, ladies and gentlemen, the collusion. Obviously, let us know. What do you think about the situation? Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Are you buying into collusion? Do you think other things have happened with the NFL before? Let us know. Comment down below. We want to hear from you guys on that stuff as well. And, folks, we're going to go to another one, but when we do come back here, ladies and gentlemen, a certain college coach who was once in support of paying the players seems to now want to make sure that there's a cap put on that stuff. We're going to be talking about that next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
Can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it.
eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
Ah,
Hey, watch your mouth.
wine. I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none.
Yeah, worth every quarter, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, get those sports done?
Yeah. No. You, sir.
Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
That is all. Dudes, we're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. Boss.
Hey, sir. Go yourself.
Fired!
And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a fun one here, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys want to still to follow us on the stream as well, catch us every Monday and every Friday. You can find us every Monday here at 9:30, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time, and of course every Friday at 1 o'clock Central Time, p.m. Central Time. That should be. You can find us on youtube.com/xbombsports or on Twitch as well at twitch.tv/xbombsports as well. Follow us on social media too at xbombsports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you guys want to check us out anymore with any questions or comments, things like that, you guys can hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com as well too, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you guys all so much again for the support. We appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are awesome. You guys are incredible. The last thing of the day that I wanted to get to, because this was a question that we got from numerous people, because we've talked a lot about this man, Mr. Deion Sanders. Yes, Mr. Deion Sanders. If you don't know, head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, obviously NFL Hall of Fame cornerback, arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest coverage corner maybe of all time. Well, he had some comments to make. Yes, of course he did. When does he not have some comments to make? Well, Deion Sanders was apparently at the Big 12 press conference, as he's supposed to be, and made some statements that obviously have a lot of people scratching their head, and now having the big debate, right? His statement basically, in the quick quotes, was, "I wish there was a cap. Like a top-of-the-line player makes this, and if you're not that type of guy, you know you're not going to make that. That's what the NFL does. So the problem is, you got a guy that's not that darn good, but he could go to another school and they give him $500,000. You can't compete with that. And it don't make sense." All right. Okay. I do believe that this was a man that seemed to be pretty fully in support of paying these players no matter what they wanted. I believe it was somewhere along the lines of, these kids got to get this, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because Primetime wants to see these kids make sure they get their money. And I'm with you, Primetime. These kids should get paid. They should get paid. It's just, is it not, I don't know, funny or ironic that the moment that your son Shador leaves and your, I guess, adopted son, if you would claim him, Travis Hunter, both leave. Not Shiloh. Who cares about him? Not even he cares about him at this point. It's just funny that your two best players leave, and all of a sudden now it's, now we need a salary cap to control this whole thing. When I believe that's what Nick Saban was saying along. Your friend, by the way, Nick Saban, was saying that a while back, and you were preaching kind of the opposite for a while there. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here from what I can remember. It seems that Deion Sanders might be, tasting the wine, and it kind of tastes like sour grapes, if you will. It just sounds like a guy that's kind of, crying over spilled milk or something of that nature. When you get down to the nitty-gritty of, looking at what he's got going on right now, and this is only, by the way, half the story, I think, is that he's kind of a little bit like, they're not, this isn't fair. I'm not doing as well as the others. When you look at the fact that he obviously has major roster changes going on where he has 2 quarterbacks and he has not named a starting quarterback between Salter or the young freshman Lewis that, he paid a lot of money to get, by the way. He's a top quarterback that he had to pay a lot of money to get there. On top of that, too, you add on what I was able to find. At one point, they ranked, let me remind myself. Oh, yeah, they ranked 89th in the country in recruiting. They currently now, after a new recruit joined their ranks, a new 4-star, they're now up 10 spots to 79th. Whoa. They're really, they're blowing people out of the water here. I vehemently believe that what's happening here right now with the Deion Sanders making these comments is coming from a place of he's upset that he's not doing as well. Therefore, he's now making the claim that we need to have a salary cap to even the playing field, which, in fairness, to play devil's advocate, I understand what he's saying. There's a lot of schools right now who will never be as competitive as Ohio State, Alabama, but we already knew that. We know Penn State and Ohio and all these other small schools, UTEP and Troy. Of course they're not going to be as competitive as those big top schools. They don't have the same money. But that's what he's saying. Well, then they got a salary cap. Right, but they have to come up with the funds for it, don't they? Because right now, the way that college football is going is kind of like how we view baseball, right? We view it a lot like baseball. We look at it a lot like, whatever money you have, that goes into your NIL, and that gets used to pay the kids. And now the ruling by the courts have said that the schools can directly pay players, which now means that there is going to be a new kind of structure that's getting thrown out there. So I think it is extremely important for us to understand the direction of how of where college football is going, and that what Deion Sanders is trying to say here, I don't think it's really against the grain too much to say, like, hey, we need a salary cap, but it does come across like sour grapes. It comes across as somebody who is not necessarily happy with his position in college football, because I guess he believed that he was going to be so much better because of his name and his ability to recruit and all that kind of good stuff that you're always kind of looking for, right? It makes sense, but it definitely throws everything off. It definitely does not look good for him. Not from where I'm standing at least. I'm sorry. You're not going to sell me on the idea that you, as the head coach of Colorado, we should put in a salary cap because you're upset that your roster doesn't look as good as it did last year because you can't identify that star individuals on your team, and your recruiting class this year contains 2 4-stars and a bunch of 3-stars that, let's be honest, are probably going to be average to above average, to maybe one of them being good. But this is kind of the moment where he, as a coach, you need to what? Coach them up. So, time to prove yourself, Deion Sanders. Yeah, exactly. It's not, your son's not here. Your son, Travis Hunter, and Shedeur Sanders are not here. Because that was established, Shiloh is the black sheep of the family. Sorry, son, you didn't get drafted. Yeah. But that's the thing. Is like I think there's a part of that that's fixated. But let's branch it out past that, right? So let's say the salary cap did go into college football. Would that be the worst thing in the world? Not necessarily, except I think it would open up the door for what we knew was happening in college football already. Paying players under the table, right? The quote-unquote illegal way of doing things, right? It's not really illegal, but in the eyes of the NCAA, it was, that's a no-no thing. But everybody was doing it. Everybody was doing it. Right? Bama can claim all they want. They went bull. Baloney. I know LSU was, and I love LSU. That's my team, but I know they were. Everybody is. Everybody was that wants to be good enough. You want the star player? You want the best guy? Yes, sometimes you're going to have to throw him a little bit more than a bone. Put a little bit more meat on it. It's how the game has always been played. So if you bring back a salary cap, you're basically then throwing out there and saying, okay, we need to make sure there's structure for payments. And that's where schools are going to go, that's cool, then we're going to go back to bagmen. You're opening up the Pandora's box again to everybody having the shady underground, putting the money in the suitcase in a stairway, and then the player coming and collecting it, or sending an uncle or an aunt, as has been done in the past, to go get the money. You're asking the player and the individuals that they're working with right now to start to circumvent the rules yet again, which is just going to cause more chaos. I understand that NIL and all of this is really chaotic. Yes, I believe there need to be rules put into place to make sure that this thing is kind of on hold. It's kind of on lockdown. But I can't imagine that a salary cap is going to be the definitive, like, yes, that solves it. I know he's only making a suggestion. Could it work? Sure. But you have to structure it in a way that satisfies everybody in college football. Because we know that the roster limit is coming here soon. 105 players is all the team is going to be allowed to carry. So guys are going to be without scholarships. Guys are going to be without a school to go to, which honestly is going to be kind of good for the game if you think about it, because it will produce more athletes to go to Division I AA, D2, D3, JUCO colleges to build their kind of, if they're not good enough there, maybe now they can build themselves up, be good, and then they can go off to the big college. There's surely going to be a lot of kids looking for opportunity that not going to be able to grab them. But it is, and in some way, going to be good for the game because it's going to help kind of bleed guys out, if you will, to go to other opportunities elsewhere. But I just can't see where a salary cap is like the definitive, that's the cap. No, that is cap. That's what that is. That's what that is. It's just, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't fix the problem. Like, NCAA has to work together to put together some set of rules to help bring about NIL into a closed caption system so that everything can be perfectly regulated and can be perfect, so that this way there is no need for under-the-table shady stuff to happen. Now, will it happen no matter what? I think so, because there'll be those schools that just, they're going to get tired of it and go, forget it. We're going to go back to the way of doing other things. But NIL has proven that can now pass over, right? And it's kind of eliminated a lot of the shady individuals, the agents and the AAU coaches somewhat, and, in other guys that have decided to be like, I'll represent you. I can be your support. I'll be your quote-unquote agent. I'll be your go-to guy, And I know somebody asked me about the Omar Cooper thing being Ace Bailey's agent. We're going to get into that on Friday, I think, because I got words for that jamoke. But I appreciate Deion Sanders for bringing up a solution. It's not a definitive solution. It does come off as sour grapes, but it doesn't solve the problem all the way through and through. It possibly opens up, again, it opens up a wormhole of all kinds of issues that could suddenly start to occur, once again, that we are trying to eliminate using NIL. So I think it's important to identify that kind of stuff. And for Deion Sanders' sake, dude, just do better at recruiting. I don't know what to tell you. I will say this. He's not doing what Hugh Freeze is doing right now, which is he's golfing. He's golfing, and guess what? Auburn is ahead of Colorado by 1 on the rankings. So if that says I don't know if that says something about Auburn or if that says something about Colorado. I don't know where that puts those two teams. All I know is that apparently one is supposed to be possibly competing for the Big 12, and the other one is supposed to be competing for the SEC, and I don't see that happening for either of them. So best of luck to both programs. I don't know. I think you need new head coaches, but hey, that's just me. But Guys, what are your thoughts? Let us know. We want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Deion Sanders? Do you think that he has a point? Do you think that the salary cap is a good idea? What rules do you think need to be put in place to help the NIL situation that is happening in college football right now? Comment, let us know. We want to hear from you guys. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our show. This has been awesome. This has been great. I'm so happy to be back on a Monday. It's been amazing to finally get this thing back on and rolling. Guys, if you did like the show, please like it, love it, subscribe to us. Make sure to give us some comments and questions if you want to find us, of course, every Monday at 9:30, 10 o'clock, every Friday at 1 o'clock, 1:30. You guys can find us there doing the show. We are going live at youtube.com/xbombsports and twitch.tv/xbombsports. Follow us on our social media as well, too. That's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and, of course, we are now also on TikTok where my man Frankie is cutting the clips, ladies and gentlemen. Also, too, as well, if you have any questions, comments, things like that, like we have thrown in here, and we will talk about definitely for Friday as well, you can hit us up at our email that is xbsportsofficial@gmail.com as well. Also, too, if you guys want to check us out as well to see what other things we got going on, we got our show Blow the Whistle going on, likely today. I don't know how many of the boys will be going on with us, but we're going to be going today, as we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, every day at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time on Sports Town Chicago's YouTube page, so be on the lookout for that. We will tweet out the link, and we will put out the link on Facebook as well, ladies and gentlemen. Also, as well, if you want to hear a little bit about what happened this week in wrestling, that's right. If you are a wrestling fan, ladies and gentlemen, this was an exciting one all the way through and through. You guys can check out our boys at Bad Karma Wrestling. That's right. You can find them every single Friday. It's the boys, No Gimmicks, Nick Johnson, and David Double D Dykstra. They're doing their thing. You can find them every single Friday, 11 p.m. Central Time. They are talking AEW, WWE. Sometimes they get into the independents, and, of course, then you got stupid Scotty's World. But, we don't really talk about that. Yeah, exactly. God help us all for that one. But you guys can find that on the Bad Karma Wrestling YouTube page. That is youtube.com/Bad Karma Wrestling. And also at BKDub on Twitter as well. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you guys on Friday for a short show, as we always do, Short Fuse Fridays. We'll see you then, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.
Thank you.